Hello there. We are here today to rank My Hero Academia manga covers because I have finished collecting all the current volumes that are published in English. And as I've been reviewing these covers, there's some covers I really enjoy and other covers that just don't quite hit the mark. So I wanted to make a tier list to rank them based off my opinion. So I have all 31 of the covers screenshot below, and then I'll show them as I talk about them. And the things I'm looking for a good color scheme. I'm looking for readability. Can I actually see what the cover is trying to show me? I'm looking for visual appeal and detail. Are the details there? Do the characters pop off of the cover? Is there blurred lines? Overall, is the cover showing the main idea of what is happening in that volume, or is it just like a random collage of a bunch of characters? So we're going to rank them. S means amazing, would not change anything. I would buy this manga just for the cover itself. Like, that is how good it is. A tier, it's a solid cover, does what it needs to do, but isn't like 100% or just isn't my personal favorite. B tier, that's a good cover, but there's a few things I could nitpick about it, a few things I would like to change about it, but overall, not a bad cover. C is we're having some things that are problematic or things that just aren't looking quite there. D, I want to scrap this cover and make a whole new one. This cover just is not working. And again, this is my personal opinion. You can disagree with me. And sometimes I just have very picky tastes. You're going to see that there's a certain color of covers I just hate. And if they're that color, they're going to be automatically ranked lower. So let's get started, and we're going to go in order with volume number one. So number one's a classic, has that bright, nice yellow cover. The only thing that doxes for me is that readability. So over with this red blob, those are all heroes, but from far away, it's really hard to see that that's what that really is. But because it's the first volume, it's such a classic. That's the big thing. I just wish I could read that red blob a little bit better. I'm gonna put this at I'm gonna put this. I'm kind of debating between B and C tier. Because it's a classic, I'll put it at B. It's probably not going to be at the top of B, but we'll put it there for now. Cover 2. I do love the color scheme of this one. The only things I have to nitpick is I really don't like the bunny ear. If he's going to have them, I just want them on both sides or just take them off completely. Bakugo still has his mask on this side. It's just, I don't like it being halfway cut off. That's my big thing. I think this belongs in B tier as well, because it's not a horrible cover. I think it's a good cover. Just that ear gets to me. I think I'm going to put it above volume 1, though. Now, this is where we start to have some issues. Volume 3 is one of my least favorite covers. I think Shigaraki looks really weird. You can barely read Bakugo and Kirishima at the bottom. You have Todoroki in his old costume that just is the worst costume ever. And then even looking at the spine, Bakugo doesn't even look like himself. Like, this is the one spine you get Bakugo in, and it's a little bit hard because of my ring light. But he just looks really pale. He doesn't look like himself. I really don't like this cover. It's going in D tier for me. Volume 4, this one's wholesome. This sports festival, we're actually starting to see a cast of characters. I really like the body language. You're getting to know these characters just by the way they're sitting. You're seeing Tokoyami with a little scarf. You're seeing Ochako, Momo, Hatsume. Hatsume's only on 2 covers, and this is one of them. This is a really good cover for me. I'm going to put this at A tier because I think it just symbolizes this is what My Hero Academia is supposed to be. A group of students who are all learning this cast of characters. I think this really represents what this manga is supposed to be. So I'm going to put this at A tier. Now, we start to get the really aesthetic covers. Now, I typically don't like white covers. However, this little bit of smoke kind of allows it to get away with having some white background because there is some debris that breaks up the white background. I love the wind in Todoroki's hair. I love the way he's looking at his hand. I do wish he showed a little bit more emotion, but overall, really great cover. But it's missing some little ounce of emotion to get to an S tier. So this is a strong A tier. I'm going to put this above volume 4. So let's put this above volume 4. And let's go on to volume 6. Here we have the Stain cover. And man, this one looks creepy. It almost looks like a horror anime at this point, or a horror manga at this point. I do wish we could see a little bit more Tenya and see a little bit more of that anger. But I think it is a really cool dynamic movement, a dynamic pose, but it's a little dark, which makes sense. But again, I kind of wish it was flipped. I wish we are seeing more of Tenya because this is such a strong Tenya manga, and we're only seeing the tiniest bit of his side eye. So I'm going to put it at the top of B tier. And my improvement would be, again, to see more of that anger actually on Tenya's face. Next up, Volume 7. I love this cover. We're seeing a full cover of Bakugo. Like, the main, Midoriya hasn't even had a full cover by himself, and already two of his side characters have had their own full covers. But the raw anger of this, the debris, this graininess to it just overall works. So again, I think it's just him yelling. There's other covers that have more thought to how they have a placement of characters. So I want to save A tier for like really amazing, thoughtful covers. So I'm going to put this, or S tier for those types of covers. I'm going to put this in A tier. I think I'm going to put it slightly over Todoroki just because we actually get to see some emotions. So I think I'll put him there. Now, typically, I don't really like collage covers because they get a little bit too messy. I do really like having Momo in the center. I think it shows her character development really well. But all these panels around her don't really do much to help move the story forward. I'm not really getting what all these other characters are doing around her. I also don't really love this red triangle above her, and I don't love this white border. So it's not horrible. It's not like volume 3, but I do believe it belongs in C tier. Just have to find her. There she is. Put her on C tier. And next we have volume 9. Now I do really like the fighting pose between Muscular and Midoriya. My only complaint is that while I do like the purple cover, I almost miss that Dark Shadow slash Tokoyami is in the background. Because of how dark it is, I just thought this was like energy coming from Muscular, and it took me a moment to like, oh wait, that's Dark Shadow or Dark Shadow around Tokoyami. So I think they could have maybe made a better color choice to allow Tokoyami to pop off a little bit better. So I'm going to put this in B tier because of that. I think it's just missing that little bit of detail, but I'm going to put it at the top of B tier because overall I do really like the movement of it, the flow of it. It's not a bad cover. Now to volume 10. This is what I mean by a volume that plans it out, and the volume cover itself tells a story. You're seeing these hands that are wrapping around Bakugo. The fact that you see these two characters that are both fighting for Bakugo, Shigaraki and Midoriya. Bakugo having his body turned and he's gripping his hands and he's struggling with his circumstances. This is an S tier cover. Now, this is when I really learned I do not like white backgrounds because this is not a bad image of All Might. It's pretty like intense of an image, but it's not a bad image. But on the white background, it just looks so empty. Like if this was like on a gold background or a red background or a blue background, I would love it like 10 times more. But the white, there's just something missing. There's just something missing for me. I'm gonna put it at C tier. I think I'll put it in front of Momo's on C tier, but I can't do a white, especially when all the mangas are so colorful, and then you have this random white one. It's just disappointing. But volume 12, again, we have some more disappointments. The middle of this manga series, just the covers are off because you have this weird collage, again, kind of like Momo's cover, where you don't really know what the purpose of these images are besides just saying, like, these are characters you're gonna see. And there's a weird grainy brown filter over all of them. Like it's from a retro camera. Now I love seeing Denki. I love seeing Hatsume. But the color, having him upside down like this, the color of the bright blue with the grainy browns, I don't like the color scheme. This goes in D tier for me. The colors are just all wrong. It it just looks bad. It looks old. It looks like it's been yellowed already, even though it's brand new. Okay, doing a little bit better. Again, we're kind of at this moment of we get this messy collage of characters where this one they just blend too much together. I almost didn't notice Todoroki at the bottom. I do like having these two characters, Bakugo and Midoriya, side by side, but something about like the red making a window and then these other characters back here, it just doesn't quite flow. It looks blocky. So I think I'm also going to give this a C tier, but I think I'm going to put it in front of All Might just because I do think the drawing inside looks really nice. It's just like these two on top of this drawing. They each work separately, but they don't work together. So I think I'm going to put this in C tier. Leave it like that. This is another one where the perspective's a little off, and I think the color is a little bit off for me. So I just don't like the color, that peachy brown color. Just not my favorite. I want my manga spines to look a pretty color. This is just a weird color to me, in my opinion. And then I think this would look better if, like, oops, if Midoriya was like down to where like his body was partially cut off, and then like it just seemed like a perspective, like Midoriya was standing closer to the cam or like further away from the camera. But because he's like floating in the air, it's just feels like there's a picture. I'm like a weather person trying to figure out the backwards, but it just feels like here's a picture of Overhaul and let's put a sticker of Midoriya on. It just looks like a sticker. Like again, it just doesn't work for me. Now, if it was just this, I would probably put that as solid B tier. But that just ruins it for me. I think I'm gonna put it at C tier. And I almost like Momo's cover better than this one. Now, again, the horrible white covers. I hate the white covers. And this is like the first time Midoriya has had his own cover. Like, look over there. Look over there. Midoriya, this is his first cover. And there's no emotion. It's a white cover. He has to share it with Mineta of all people. Like, at least show him crying, show him being mad. I hate this. This is giving nothing. Like, I can't even remember what happens. Like, I'm just scrolling through it. And there's like so many cool moments they could have shown. Like, this has like the Night Eye agency. Like, they should put Night Eye on this cover. Like, I don't know what's going on. This is D tier. It's giving nothing. At least the other ones are trying to show something. And I don't like it. But we have some redemption. This. This is how you do a collage. Making a collage, just 3, 4 characters at most. Big character over the center. Highlight them. And then bring that into the other characters. The fact that all these cracks are going through the rest of the manga. Amazing. I love it so much. The only thing I would change is take that blue color and put it up there where the white is. Because again, I just hate white. But I'm putting this at S tier. I'm putting this in front of Bakugo's. Kirishima, your cover is amazing. Now, another pretty good cover is Mirio's. It's very dynamic. We have a colored background, which I do appreciate. I really like the texture of the spikes down here, the texture of his cape, but you can't even see the title. It's in yellow. Yellow on a yellow background. All of this is yellow. Like, I get what it's trying to do, but like, I want to be able to read the title. So, like, I would put this maybe in S tier if I could read the title, but I think this does belong in A tier. It's very good. Just like if they would have just made it white, or at least like had half of it white and half of it yellow, like because it's two toned, make one of the tones white, would have made it more readable. So I'm going to put it at the bottom of A tier. Yeah, that feels right. Number 18. Again, white covers. We're almost done with white covers. But here's another white cover. Again, it looks empty. And then the other part is, this is just really hard to read with Midoriya and Eri. The muscle texture has this weird, like, bluish highlight on it. And, like, I don't know, something about the way this is drawn just doesn't match the style of all the other covers. There's just something stylistically off about this one, but it is a very dynamic pose. I do like how it uses up all the space. So I think I'm going to put it in C tier, but I think I am going to put it at the top of C tier. Yeah. Moving on. 19. This one's odd because it's so different from the others, but this arc is so different from the others. So it makes sense that it would have a different type of cover. It's one of the first ones where we've seen every letter be a different color. Jiro looks amazing. I do complain about like Momo and Denki's faces barely having any detail or shading, while Jiro's has a lot. And Mina just being upside down also just kind of feels weird. So it's definitely not the best, but it's not the worst. And it's grown on me over time. So I think because of the arc it's in, I think it does its job. I'm going to put it at the bottom of B tier. It's doing its job. It's just kind of weird, and it could be a little bit better. Number 20 looks very much like a movie poster. And it even has this weird banner at the bottom with Horikoshi's name. Like, Horikoshi normally has his name, like, in the corners. Like, here it's in the corner, there it's in the corner, there it's in the corner. Almost all of them that I've noticed so far, the name's in the corner. But now he's taken up this whole banner, which feels weird to me. Like, that's just in and of itself is cutting off the cover. But overall, it's dynamic. Showing Midoriya as the hero, you're seeing multiple scenes that actually work together in this moment. So I'm actually going to put this in A tier, but at the bottom, because if it wasn't for this banner, it would be so much better. And there is a little bit of weirdness, like Nejire floating like a little angel just kind of looks a little funky. But let's just put him right under Mirio. 21 is really cool. This is a really cool planned out manga cover with Endeavor creating these fire wings for hawks, and it's almost a little bit of foreshadowing for later manga content. I think this one does a really good job, but there's still something about it that I don't know. There's something, I think maybe it's because it's an Endeavor one. I think it belongs in the top of A tier. But to me, it's not quite crossing over to S tier. It's just not telling enough of a story. 22, we fall into the weird collage mash-up again, which makes sense because we're in the Class 1A versus Class 1B, but Tetsu being like this looks really funky, like he's the only one with a close-up. They all have these weird bold outlines along their body, which just looks funky. The color scheme, this weird mint color plus gray plus yellow, I really don't like this. This to me almost belongs in D tier. Almost, but at least it's decently readable. It's not the worst color in the world if it wasn't for this text. I'm putting it at the bottom of C tier. Now 23 does a pretty good job. I really like Shinso being on this cover, And I really love how the not the bandages, the capture weapon kind of crisscross along the cover. I think that's really well done. And I also love that the League of Villains are kind of highlighted in here as well. I think that's done really well. Not quite enough to make it into S tier, but I'm actually going to put this near the top of A tier. I think I'm going to put it between Endeavor and Bakugo. Because I just think the planning of it and the capture weapon, I just love that interaction, how they plan that. Next is My Villain Academia. This one's really cool. I love that Spinner is helping to change the sign. I think that's a really creative move. Just seeing all the villains on the cover, we haven't seen that yet. But there isn't anything incredibly special about it besides the fact that they're changing the name. So overall, I think it does belong in A tier, and I realize I'm going to have to move my camera to fit more things in A tier. But where to put it? Just for creativity's sake, I think it's going to be, I'm going to put it right here. Because again, it's not hitting as hard for me as those one-shots of Todoroki and Bakugo, but there's more to this versus the school sports festival. Now this one. This is incredible. The color scheme, amazing. The decay of his jacket going onto the background, amazing. The fact that his hair is even covering the title, the pose, the just craziness, I love it so much. This is definitely S tier. I don't know if it beats out Kirishima, but I do think it beats out Bakugo. So we're gonna put it in the middle of those two. This is also a really good cover. I really like the 3 at the Endeavor internship arc. I really like Endeavor in the background. I think we get a nice, good close up of Midoriya and Bakugo and Todoroki. I do think this is an A tier, and I think I'm actually going to put this one in front of Shinso's. I just think this kind of, this V shape works really well. And I like seeing the 3 of them together because they are kind of the big 3 of the manga. Now, we do have a new S tier. This is one of my favorite covers. This one is incredible. The dynamic between Hawks and Twice and this battle, and it's so important and it's so good. The only thing I would dock about it is the weird cutoff of the different colors, but still works, kind of just showing the 2 sides of this battle. I'm putting this at the top of S tier. Just the placement of Twice reaching up and building himself up, with Hawks cutting down Twice and being above him and taking advantage of him. I think it tells that story. It goes at the top of S tier. Next up, this is also another amazing one. We have Aizawa reaching forward, trying to grasp at saving his students, at saving people, and then we have Shigaraki standing in the way, staring out at him. We're seeing both of their eyes, the dynamic between them. The only thing that struggles with me is this weird greenish tint, but I can bypass this for how dynamic this is. I do think this is S tier, not as good as the Shigaraki one, so I think I'm going to put it between Bakugo and Shigaraki. We're getting close to the end, only 3 more. Again, another home run based off storytelling. You could argue that the color scheme is mid, but it's still pleasant, and this one is fully about telling the story. Childhood Deku reaching his hand out to Bakugo, and Bakugo finally accepting his hand. This is incredible. I love this one so much. It tells so much about Bakugo's character development. It's amazing. Though I will say some of the other S tiers are more dynamic. So I think I'm going to still put it under Shigaraki, but in front of Aizawa. How does Horikoshi do it? 3 home runs in a row. This one almost takes the cake. This one is incredible. The fire feels real. It's so fluid. It's so bright on that stark black background. Dobby dancing and swinging around. It is incredible. I love it so much. I I've been really debating. Does this one beat Hawks? It's prettier. I will say Hawks has a white background. I have been saying white backgrounds are not my favorite. I think Dobby goes at the top. Okay, last one of what's currently published in English, physical published. I guess you can't have more than like 3 home runs in a row. Why does All Might's face look busted? It looks so wrong. It looks like some weird CGI. The only redeeming factor is seeing their school uniforms peeling off, because we have that moment in this manga chapter or this manga volume of seeing like a younger All Might and in the vestige world. Like, but this one, it just doesn't do it. And then it has a white spine. Why didn't it just have a black spine? Why did it have to have a white spine? Ah, like it. This is D tier. I think I'm gonna put it at the top of D tier because at least there's a little bit better storytelling versus the other ones. But yeah, I think I'm happy with that. But overall, woo, we went through 31 volumes. Dobby, his dance, is the top winner, followed up very closely by Hawks and Twice, Kirishima. Then we have Shigaraki's chapter. We have Bakugo holding out his hand. We have Aizawa versus Shigaraki. And then we have the Bakugo kidnap arc. Those are our S tiers. And then a lot of runner-ups in our A tier, a good amount in our B and C tier, and a few in the D tier that just are missing a lot, and I would just recommend a full redesign for those 4. But hopefully you enjoyed this. I'm also going to put the link to this tier maker into the link of this video, like the description of the YouTube video, so you can do your own. So if you disagree with me and you want to put them all in a different tier, then go ahead, do that. This is all my opinion, but hopefully you enjoyed watching. Thank you so much. Make sure to like and follow and comment and tell me who would be your top 3. Okay, see you next time.